Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dubai Future Horizons. I'm going to pass it off to our lovely host, Felix Zeltner.
Jaleesa, thank you so very much. Welcome to the 4th edition of Dubai Future Horizons, the new networking series for futurists, foresight professionals, and researchers presented to you by Dubai Future Foundation and Remote Daily. My name is Felix. You just heard from Jaleesa, DJ Hourglass, who is here for you for the entire session. I'm the founder of Remote Daily. I have the honor to host you live from New York City today, and my colleague Liz, who is producing, just asked you in the chat to say hi. Help others connect with you, drop your virtual business card, tell us where you're joining from. We would like to know who you are, where you are, so we can connect you with your peers from all around the world. What's happening here on Dubai Future Horizons? The first half of the hour, we discuss the impact of artificial intelligence on foresight and tackle one big question. You saw that maybe on the invite. Can machines be futurists? We'll discuss that today. We'll discuss how futurists use AI, how AI is going to impact the analytical and the creative part of professional foresight, whether AI can be creative, and we are also going to take your questions. It was so amazing. When you signed up, so many of you took the time to submit questions, and these questions have helped us shape the session. We do this for you, we do this with you, and we're now going to do a quick pulse check while we are already welcoming so many of you from Florida, Strasbourg, Brazil, London, Dubai, New York City, Lisbon, Hamburg, and LA. Thank you for getting up for us. Thank you for staying awake for us. We have a quick poll for you from Liz about today's session. We would like to know from you all what you think. Can machines be futurists? What's your opinion? Let us know in the chat. And while I share with you that after our talk today, in the second half of the hour, we turn the room over to you to connect in breakout rooms before closing together. Live music and mindfulness are going to be part of the mix. I encourage you to leave your camera on, if comfortable, to share your presence also for the breakout rooms, of course. And we hope that this unique recipe makes you leave with new learnings and new feeling of community here. Our goal is to hold the space for you all year round, all leading up to the world's largest gathering of futurists, the Dubai Future Forum on November 19 and 20 in the museum, the amazing Museum of the Future in Dubai. It's great to welcome back the curator of the forum now on stage with us, Iman Al-Qadi. Iman, it's so good to see you. Welcome back to Horizons. How are you?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining. I'm delighted to be here. Felix, thank you so much for hosting this. I have to say what I love about this is that every time we do one of these things, there's a whole new group of people that come into the space. So it's really great to connect with such a diversity, with such a diverse group of people. So thank you all from joining us from, all parts of this world.
Yes, Scotland just came into the room. We have, of course, Spain, Barcelona. We have the New Yorkers, the East Coast and the West Coast, and so many different people. Democratizing foresight is your mission, Iman, and you're doing such an amazing job on this. I have to ask you for your vote, though, on the question of today. What do you think? Can machines be futurists?
Ooh. Well, it's a good thing I'm not the speaker of the session, so I will leave you in the very capable hands of Sinead and Faisal, who I'm sure can give you their sort of insights and their thoughts on this question. I saw someone mention on the chat, depends on how you define a futurist, and I love that. One of the things that I've really noticed on LinkedIn these days is this notion that everyone seems to be a futurist. We went from entrepreneur to innovator, and now everyone's a futurist. And I think there are some fundamental differences between people that are in the futurist thinking space and the futurism space, and then obviously foresight practitioners. So it'll be really interesting to just hear some of these, some of your opinions on the question of the day: can machines be futurists? And maybe we should even be defining what a machine is. I don't know. We'll wait and find out.
And Emmanuel just shared in the chat, Iman, I just wanted to let you know that I started referring to myself as a futurist synthesist. after
Ooh, all
seeing
right.
one of your talks resonated with me deeply. So
Okay.
yeah, there is that the profession is in the making. And Iman, I'll ask you one more question
Of
around
course.
today's topic. Last year, the forum had an AI related track, Transcending Collaboration, where our
Correct.
guests today were speakers, moderators. What are we likely to see in November this year around AI? What are you planning on?
So thank you so much for asking that question. So we've got our themes confirmed for this year. We've got 3 that are sticking to the ones of last year: transforming humanity, regenerating nature, empowering generations. So the forum is taking place 19-20 November. 20 November is World Children's Day. So obviously empowering generations is super important. And then the final theme is going to be on optimizing health. But what we've decided to do on the sort of the topic of AI is we're actually going to be embedding it in all across the 4 tracks, because the reality is when you start to look at some of these subjects around AI and even just very broad questions on how AI is being used in this world, it is about transforming humanity. The next generation is going to be using that AI at levels that we haven't even, understood or seen yet. And of course, the sort of the cross section between nature and AI, that's a whole other, space that we need to explore. So AI is actually going to be embedded across all 4 themes this year.
The whole forum will be AI impacted.
AI
while we're
inspired, I'll say.
And I inspired. Thank you, Aman. So great to talk to you as always. And we'll see you again for the closing of the session. While we welcome Georgia, Spain, Switzerland in the room here, thank you for being here from all around the world. And let's welcome our speakers for today with the first community question that Liz is going to put in the chat for you. We are all about sharing signals here, and we would love to know from you, what's an AI tool that you in your own practice, in your own work, have used recently and found helpful or inspiring? Let us know in the chat. Let's just put the question here in the Zoom chat. Please share your tools with us so we can create a toolbox live here through your crowd wisdom. And I would like to say hi to our first speaker, the founder of WAYE and one of the most visible futurists of her generation. Her career spans from management consulting to fashion to foresight. And I think she was just on CNN again hours ago. Now she's here with us. Welcome, Sinead Bovell. So good to have you with us. How are you?
Thank you for that introduction. I am well, thank you. Great to be here. Really looking forward to today.
Sinead, Newness AI, Read AI, Runway ML, Fibers, Adobe Creative Express, Perplexity, Google Bard, daily use. What do you think when you look at the chat and look at all these tools that the community is using?
I mean, I'm thrilled to see the variety of tools and that people are leaning into generative AI in the systems that we have today. I think in many ways it's essential for our work. The ones that stand out to me, or the ones that I use, I'd say daily, would definitely be Perplexity. I do a lot of journal kind of scanning there and horizon scanning. And then I do use the ChatGPT Plus when it comes to kind of summarizing or bouncing ideas back and forth. But I think right now, I'd say in my current workflow, Perplexity takes first place.
Wow. And is that because it is more scientifically based, or what is the reason you're giving Perplexity priority?
Yeah, from the data that it and the kind of the knowledge set that it pulls from, it tends to be more based on science, technology, papers and publications. And I find that that's kind of its strongest point. I wouldn't use it to necessarily generate new ideas, but in terms of what it's pulling from and the sources. I find it really is kind of like your research assistant. The papers that it pulls from, I end up kind of doing a lot of the scanning of the papers, but it will find papers that I wouldn't necessarily have been able to find on a standard Google search.
Sinead, do you think machines can be futurists? What's your response?
Well, of course, it would depend on how you define a futurist, but could machines kind of practice strategic foresight? And I mean, everything that I say, I guess, was within the context of how our current AI systems work. And I would say not entirely. I think AI is going to be absolutely essential for the work that we do. If you look at the complexity of variables and the rate of change and the pace of change and just the expansion of geography that we're covering, it's soon going to be off planet. There's far too many signals and changes and edges that keep moving that I think it is essential that we have a tool that can kind of spot patterns in data and help us think in different ways. But a lot also of practicing strategic foresight, it's not necessarily in the data, all of it. So we point out our signals, but some of it, is kind of spotting those emerging trends. They're not always super present. And that is a bit more challenging for a machine, which is entirely based just on statistics. And I think another challenge as it stands today is the black box nature of AI makes it very challenging for somebody in strategic foresight to understand what dots the system is connecting. Because just because something speaks or it frequently appears in a data set, that could be because it's trending, not because it's a true trend. And I think we're also experiencing that kind of whiplash behavior from metaverse to crypto to if AI was just kind of scanning those horizons, it probably would have had us all kind of betting on random cryptocurrencies that people are now in jail for. So I think, a lot of what a futurist does, it isn't just kind of analyzing what's very obvious in trends.
What I hear from you is yay to humans. Thank you, Sinead. And we will continue the conversation with you in a minute. I would like to welcome our other guest today, who has equally impressive careers spanning from finance to real estate to science into entrepreneurship, the Director of Future Foresight at the Dubai Future Foundation, head of the UAE Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Faisal Kazim. Faisal, it's great to have you on Horizons. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Very excited for the discussion today.
What do you make of the answers in the chat about all the tools that people are using, and also the fine distinction that Sinead just made? What comes to mind for you about AI tools and how foresight practitioners are using them?
Yeah, honestly, my first sense is, wow, there's so many tools out there that it almost feels, intimidating, even for people that are, trying to explore these AI tools on a daily basis. So I feel like there's definitely room for education, but it's great that there's so much progress, so much development in this space. I am a fan of, kind of things that are, easier for people to transition into rather than steeper learning curves. I love the videos that demonstrate these new tools. I'm always wowed by them, but then I'm always concerned about how difficult would this be for me to learn. And so I'm a fan of AI tools that are implemented to existing applications. And those existing applications evolving into AI-enabled applications, in addition to, of course, the new amazing tools that are being released.
Yes, so good to hear that from you. You do a lot of research and a lot of studies, and you help entrepreneurs to find into this field that you're thinking about the UX. And Cecilia just shared in the chat, we have actually built our own generative future tool. Not ready to go public yet, but would love to share later. Cecilia, that's super exciting. And that, I think, points towards a future as well, Faisal, that you described, where people are able to build their own tools and build them into their own work streams. And I'm so glad that you're here, Faisal. Before we come to say hi to everyone, quick response from you. Can machines be futurists? Yes, no, or I don't know.
Does it have to be quick? So yes, I think they can be futurists, but the reason why I'm asking whether it could be quick or not is because there are a lot of caveats. So I feel like, yes, they could be great futurists. They are very capable in terms of analyzing data, providing insights in terms of potential trends. They are great in terms of efficiency and speed and so many things. But the big caveat there is there are certain things, certain very human things that that they cannot do when it comes to trying to being a futurist, and maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into those things later.
We will. And we do all of this for you and with you, as I said, and many of you took the time to submit questions. As a matter of fact, so many questions that we tried to cluster them and now put forward the clusters to our guests. Please feel free at any point in time to pitch in with comments and further questions in the chat. Please also recognize our community guidelines that we just put in the chat for you. Sinead, I'm going to ask you first, and it's a tricky one because so many people signed up for the session and said, like, Camelia, can you share successful and unsuccessful uses of AI to predict future trends or scenarios? So that's a huge question. We could probably do an entire series around just that, the best cases and the worst cases that are happening right now. But I thought maybe I can start by asking you, is there a recent example from your own work or that you've seen other people doing where AI has been used successfully to predict future trends or to build scenarios? Is there anything that came across your table or that happened in your own work that you can share with us?
Yes. So if we want to say where it has been used successfully to kind of spot a trend, that would be a historical use case. So it would have had to already have happened for me to then be able to confirm. But I'd say, and I've been using AI for years, but one such example was a scenario, a likely future scenario with neurotechnology and brain-computer interfaces. So that's a field that there's kind of two parallel tracks happening. There's kind of like the hype track, and there's the kind of longer term, longer horizon, academic, highly plausible and actionable, and we're seeing actual momentum track of brain-computer interfaces. And using AI to kind of spot the trends and build out the most likely scenario for mainstream adoption of neurotechnologies. And AI was able to successfully pinpoint that long-term commercialization is much more likely to not be an invasive kind of chip. We're much more likely to see kind of the wearable neurotechnologies that kind of bypass this next kind of decade of implantation of implants. And implants have a very specific and important role at the intersection of healthcare. But when we see kind of the biggest widespread adoption, that's much more likely to be something on top of brain, not in brain. And that kind of scenario of kind of like a 2040, to me, that was in line with kind of the research and where my trends kind of fall.
Very interesting.
And then, of course, there's the not so great use cases of AI.
I feel like every question we ask today, you know, can machines be futurists or a successful use case? There's always the question, how do we define a futurist? How do we find a successful use case, right? So thank you for being so thorough and saying, I have to actually go back into the past because, you know, how do I define success as a futurist is a whole other question. But now you already said it, there have been unsuccessful attempts as well. Is there maybe one that you can share? Is there an example for a prediction using AI that did not work out for you or that you have been observing not working out?
Yes. And so it is quite consistent in terms of what isn't yet as prevalent in data sets. And that is when you use generative AI to try to understand trends pertaining to the future of work. And when you ask it and try to kind of coax it into kind of spotting different patterns, one such very obvious pattern that generative AI is going to lead to a massive unlock is in robotics, right? So I think a lot of times we focus on how generative AI is going to impact jobs that are based on kind of things we do on computers. But one of the biggest untapped markets is going to be when we can just talk to robotic systems and get them to physically participate in the world. And that's something that isn't covered even in a lot of kind of more multilateral future of work trends for governments. That's not necessarily found in those any of that type of research, and AI couldn't spot it either. But that's something that somebody who practices strategic foresight knows is kind of waiting to be unlocked. As soon as we can talk to or, you know, whatever kind of device or appliance or robot that's around us, that's going to unlock an entire, not even just entirely in terms of the jobs that exist today, but entire new industries that haven't been invented yet. And so no matter how hard I try to push AI, it just keeps coming back to, you know, like accounting is about to be, you know, somewhat kind of streamlined or automated in some ways.
Fascinating to me to hear this as someone who has been in the future of workspace for years, and I see many of you here in the room as well who are digging into that same question. And it brings me to concluding from what you said that it's probably also about asking the right question to the AI. And Faisal, this brings me to you, because you told me preparing for the session that what you found AI to be really not successful with is asking questions. Can you maybe elaborate on that? What do you mean by that? How did you experience it?
Sure. So I actually meant a few different things by that. One is just that it's a very human thing to be curious and ask questions. So at the UAE Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution, we've been holding several workshops and events over the past year or so. We were setting up gatherings, workshops, etc., trying to figure out where are the number one concerns, challenges, maybe opportunities, and gaps for our center to focus on, so we can add value to society. And one of the main concerns was this concern of agency, and that's something that's unique to humans. So that was one finding that came out of one of our workshops. At the same time, there were other workshops, other sessions held, and there was a recurring, very similar theme of things that are unique to humans. People are being concerned about things that are unique to humans, and curiosity is one of them. But then I actually turned to AI, and I turned to ChatGPT. I'm sure I broke every compliance policy that we have at work here. And I fed ChatGPT with everything, all the insights that we gained from those workshops and sessions. And I asked ChatGPT to summarize everything into one clear initiative or gap for us to focus on in the future. And it gave us something called Empathy Engine. And that was very, very interesting to us, because it's basically everything that you know, human futurists today, they kind of stand out when it comes to comparing us with potential machine futurists. And basically it comes down to empathy. You know, the fact that we focus on cultural context, we focus on emotions. So, you know, if that really is the gap, and if we fill that gap, once machines are able to be empathetic, then the concern is, yes, you know, there may be a future where we should be concerned that many things that we do could be replaced.
There were many questions, Sinead, from the audience leading up to the session that pointed into two directions that I think actually meant the same. For example, Dana and many others, they signed up saying, I want to know whether AI can be what Faisal just said, creative, conscious, empathetic, emotional. Is this even possible? The conscious creative machine. And then there were others asking, like Elvira, Sabrina, Shaquille, they submitted questions and said, are there any human aspects that AI won't be immediately able to replace? Or, thinking further, is AI going to be the lone futurist ranger eventually? So doing a little bit of foresight on our own topic, Sinead, and trying to morph these two streams of question into one, what do you think?
Yeah, tricky questions. So I'd say first, when it comes to jobs, it's a lot easier to forecast the jobs that will be automated than the jobs and industries that have yet to be invented, right? Because we know that around 85% of the jobs that we work in today didn't exist 80 years ago. And technology, there's all sorts of kind of parallel technologies that converge. So I think there's going to be a lot of new sectors and areas and things that humans do or how we live that are hard to imagine yet. Could you forecast, 20, 30 years into the future, if all else stays the same and their economies don't grow and what we do in economies don't change, could AI and robotics perhaps eventually do those types of roles? And the answer is probably yes. But I think all new industries and sectors have yet to be invented. In terms of, can AI be creative? And that's an interesting one, and it's tricky. So I think what AI allows us to do is to separate the technical skills required to execute on creativity from the innovation and kind of sparks of ideas. So AI can synthesize the technical skills that we deem as what's needed to kind of output on creativity really well. Can it have like light bulb intuitive moments that actually are, our human brain machine kind of may operate similarly? It's possible, right? I think if you look at what happened at the game of Go in 2017, when AI played a move that humans had never, ever considered in the thousands of years that game was played. That to me is an example of creativity in and of its own right. But in terms of, will humans still operate in creative roles? Yeah, I think the superpower will be when somebody who can't paint, but who can imagine, can pair with an AI system. I think that's going to be an entirely new world of unlock. And then finally, can AI kind of be conscious and emotional? Our current AI systems, I think that it's nothing more than kind of emulating what they see in the data. They're trained on humans with a lot of emotions and a lot of passionate emotions, especially on the internet. So of course, that's what they're going to emulate. Could a machine ever be conscious? I'm not so concerned about the current systems that we have today. It becomes really interesting at the intersection of AI and synthetic biology, where we are kind of bringing new life forms into the world that are programmed by AI, and that they themselves may have their own aspects of biocomputing. But that's separate from, is GPT-4 going to one day wake up married? And no, I'm not super concerned about that, but could be wrong.
Thank you, Sinead. And we are about to turn the room over to you all. Faisal, I wanted to ask you, because you've been in finance and real estate, you're really coming from math and from statistics and from numbers. And we just had a question in the chat from Adam, who said, do you see a day when AI develops new math? So this is actually what Sinead was also pointing at. So far, it's synthesizing what's already out there. But what do you think, as somebody who has worked in finance, Faisal? Is there going to be new math made by AI?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I've moved on to this job, but sometimes I really wish I was still doing feasibility studies, building financial models for investment opportunities, because back then, maybe 10 years ago, we were using things like Excel and then VBA in Excel to create formulas that would optimize certain variables to maximize returns. But even then, if you think about it, that was, in a way, that was foresight. It was scenarios. It was providing, different possible futures and different ways that your portfolio, for example, could end up. But the reason I wish I was still there was I feel like now is the time where, yes, new math could be created by generative AI.
So a clear yes from you. And I think it's so fascinating, because what both of you are pointing towards is we will be able to do so much more. Sinead said the creative tools will be sped up, because the technical processes of creativity will be speeding up, will be replaced by so many automated functions. And Faisal, you even said, I wish I would be back at my old job because I probably could do so much more and could do it so much better. So thank you for, even though there have been many heavy questions here coming at you, being so clear and optimistic about what AI and foresight can do together. And the final words here today at Dubai Future Horizons, I can't believe this hour is gone, of course come from our guests. So I'm going to ask Aman, Sinead, and Faisal to join me on stage one last time. Aman, how was this for you? What would you like to share with us before we part ways today?
I think we need a part two. I don't think we've actually answered the question. So I think everyone will agree with me that we need another session on the exact same topic. Thank you all for joining us. Please reach out to us. We are currently at the beginning stages of curating an awesome program for this year. So please reach out to us for ideas, suggestions, or just to chat. So thank you all for your time today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Aman, for the hard work that you're already doing for November. We can't wait. And I'm going to ask Faisal to join me next. Faisal, what would you like to leave us with today? Your final message for Horizons.
Sure, thank you. I think there's a lot more to be discussed, like everyone mentioned. There's a lot of research to be done in this area also. So I think one thing I would like to leave everyone with is, I feel like before trying to figure out what's right or wrong at the smallest details, let's try and go back down to the core and the foundation of what makes humans different than machines. Once we have clarity on that, and once we have consensus on that, I feel like then we'll have a lot more consensus on the finer details.
Mic drop. Sinead, what would you like to add? Your final message for our community today?
I think it was really refreshing to hear how curious and thoughtful everybody in this session was about using generative AI. There's a lot of kind of random hype around it, but I found everybody in the group was very grounded as to what it is and what it isn't, and what AI is and what it isn't in this moment and kind of going forward. So that was really refreshing to be a part of.
Thank you, Sinead. I really enjoy hearing this because this is why we do all this. We are building community, holding the space year round, and we're now offering you a final piece of music. So if you want to dance with us out of Horizons into your day, we invite you to do this. We are the Remote Daily team, proudly responsible for creating Dubai Future Horizons together with Dubai Future Foundation. And we look forward to seeing you all for the next session in just a few weeks. And as Iman said, we'll probably continue discussing AI in some way, shape, or form. So while you hear the final song fading in from DJ Hourglass, live from Atlanta, I ask you all to go off mute together and wish each other a goodbye in your own preferred language. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye, everybody. It was great to see you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.